Hello there, Medicine here, and I am back! Yeah, I'm back on YouTube doing videos. At least that's the current plan. So here we go. Here we're gonna talk about little doll updates, what's going on with my doll hobby presence, where I've been, what I'm up to, and the plans for this channel. So first, let's dive into the BJD updates and dolly things, because that's what most of you who are subscribed here are interested in. So let's just cover that first. As you know, I have been very inactive in the doll hobby. I am not planning to get rid of any of my dolls. I'm still, I still have all my dolls. I have no plans of leaving the hobby. However, I'm just not active. So that is going to remain the same. I have switched from the big resin dolls. Like, I stopped collecting them. I started collecting these dolls in order to make characters from the books I was writing, and I am currently not really doing that. If you are interested, as a side note, in the stories of my dolls, I do have the entire first book called Seer and Sword. It's about Alistar, he's the seer, and Artunas here is the sword, as you can see by the actual sword in his hand. And it's on Tapas, T-A-P-A-S. It is a web comic, web novel, app and website that you can go and read for free, mini comics and novels. And that's where I have enjoyed a lot of content. I read a bunch of Solo Leveling before it was even considered as an anime on Tapas for free. I got up to the Ant arc and kind of stopped after that, so I'm way behind, but I never watched the anime, but it's super good. Sidetracked, sorry. But yeah, you can find me, Metasynth, just like here on my channel, on Tapas, T-A-P-A-S. And if you are interested, go and check it out. Leave a like and subscribe so I know that people actually are interested, and maybe I'll be motivated to continue the story. The entire book 1 is complete on there. However, I am not actively writing new things for their story, which is why I've kind of left this aspect of the hobby behind. I have now currently switched to more of these kind of dolls, this little like anime style. It's PVC ABS plastic, and these are actually from blind boxes. And if you have seen some of my most recent videos, I've done a few Kika Goods box openings with these blind box BJDs, and I do have another one lined up. It's already edited and ready to go, so that'll be probably after this video. So that's kind of where I'm at in the doll hobby. So going forward with the channel, because I've basically stopped the big dolls, I want to focus on what the everyday life of a doll hobbyist might be like. Maybe we're going to talk about like doll props. Where did I get this sword that's like the perfect size for the doll? Where do you find things like this little drink? Things like that. How do you get these props? What do you use them for? Accessories that aren't necessarily BJD. This is not a BJD sword. Okay? So we're going to do a whole video about, is it doll size? And start doing like a little mini series on doll size things, maybe do some arts and crafts together for making doll sized things. Talk about doll reviews of the current dolls that I have. If you have any questions or suggestions for videos, please put them in the comments. I would love to hear from you, and also it would give me content I know you are interested in, so I would love to do videos of those. So I think that's it for doll stuff. Oh, I also have Nindoroid. I keep saying Nindroid, but it's Nindoroid. I have a few Nindoroids. I turned 40 a little while ago and got 4 of those, and they are in very specific hobbies of mine, like fandoms that I enjoy. So I will be doing a box opening of those and like actual reviews of the products, because I haven't opened them yet. They have been sitting on my shelf waiting for me to open them. And I want to open them. I want to go through all the little figures, all the little pieces, and play with them. And I believe their heads can be removed and put on some of these more smaller BJD bodies, these ABS PVC ones. So I think they're very similar in structure, so they may or may not be able to be like swapped out. So maybe we can test that. We can test that here. So that'll be some of the stuff you can look forward to in the near future of my dolls. Maybe we can talk fandom, maybe we can do some arts and crafts together. If you're interested in some of my like drawing stuff, I did this with colored pencil. We can do maybe some art together. This is just me doodling for fun, getting some colors. Like nothing super serious, just some fun stuff, right? So maybe we can do that together in these videos. Let me know what sounds good to you, but I do plan on updating, at least for now, weekly is the schedule I'm trying to do. I don't want to make any hard commitments, and for reasons we'll get into in this next section of the video, but I am committed to starting up this channel again and bringing it back from the dead, resurrecting it back to life, and hopefully sharing some happiness and joy. I feel like right now I need joy, and maybe you do too. I feel like the world is kind of crazy, and just given this current technology and how like instant everything is and information is just overwhelmed, I feel overwhelmed by everything, and I would like to be a joyful spot and bring joy back to others and share that joy with you. So you can look forward to that. So that's it for doll stuff, and that's what I'm hoping for the future. So this next part of the video, if you're interested in my personal life, we're going to get into where I have been in the last 4 or 5 years, and kind of what's motivating me to come back to YouTube and get back into the hobby. Let's talk about my personal life. Okay, personal update. Where have I been? Where the flip flop? Where are the double S hooks have I been? Well, in the pandemic times when we were in lockdown, I went through a divorce. It was not something that I decided in the pandemic. Like, it wasn't like an impulse. I had already been considering just divorce for several years at this point, and it was time. Because once we were all trapped in the same house, all of the negative, toxic things of the relationship just blew up. It was intense. I've been divorced. I've been a single parent. I've had to do schooling at home during a pandemic. I had to re-enter the workforce full-time. And so all of that took away from things like hobbies and even creative outlets. So writing slowed down at that time. I was still writing. I had lots of ideas. But it was a lot of things happening at once. And then shortly after that, I think it was in 2022, so about 3 years ago, my dad was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer and passed away. And that was a lot to go through, just to process. My dad and I had a very high and low relationship. He was a wonderful person, but also a very difficult person, to put it lightly. So that was very emotional while I was still navigating post-divorce and trying to figure out how to enter the work, like trying to figure out life as a single parent, working full-time, navigating a new relationship with my ex because we were still co-parenting. We're still, like, doesn't matter who has the kid more, we both have our child at certain times, and we're trying to navigate the relationship after a breakup, but still maintaining civility. So that was difficult. My dad passed away, and then shortly after his passing, a very good friend of mine also passed away suddenly passed away, and that was devastating. We weren't as close because of the pandemic and everything. She and her family had moved, and but she was somebody that I talked to about reading. We had a lot of things in common, and we'd often watch certain shows and read certain books together and discuss them, and that was very devastating for her. It was a very devastating loss. And then shortly after that, all within the span of like a few months. Like all within like, it was summer and right before fall, right after fall, my dad passed, my friend passed, and then I was in a very serious car accident. This was all, I think, 2022. My brain, like, even thinking of the dates, I have a hard time now, ever since then, with certain details and things, but the car accident was very serious. Thankfully, I was able to physically walk away, although shaky and barely, and with the help of somebody that assisted me at the time. It took a long time in rehab to get kind of normal. I still have issues. I know my mental function's a little bit different. I won't say that I'm like impaired, but I definitely can tell a difference from who I was before the car accident and how I functioned in the world and how I am after. And part of it is PTSD. You know, it was a very traumatic event. And that does restructure your brain. It restructures how you navigate the world. And the other part is physical impact. I've had my actual impact on my neck is very, even right now I feel it. There's just issues all in neck. So head trauma, just all things. Lots of physical trauma. And the best way I can say is I felt like in that moment, which I didn't see it coming, the other car ran a red light. I never saw the car. I just, like, it went white. Everything was white. And then it was like it started to come back, like phase in, like gray to like real. And then like, it took me like several moments to realize I had even been in a car accident. I had no idea what had just happened. It was a very serious situation in the car accident. Thankfully, I believe the other person was also okay. I don't know the severity of what happened with them, and the insurance agencies get involved and lawyers get involved. You really don't have much interaction with the other person. It wasn't that kind of a car accident where it needed to be. Like, they clearly ran the red light. We knew what happened. That was that. But for me, the impact it had was like soul deep. The emergency crew that came in and took me to the hospital for my first exam and everything mentioned that the white that I had seen might have been the airbags exploding. And boy, let me tell you, thank goodness I was alone. I was alone in the car. I was the only one in my car. And because when the aftermath of the car, when I saw it at the place where they had left it, the car lot or whatever, all the airbags exploded. There was airbags in places I didn't even know had airbags. All the airbags exploded in the entire car. And the passenger side, the railing that keeps the roof of the car connected, like that metal that runs along the side of atop the doors, was in the back seat. Because I got hit from the passenger side. That was in the back seat. So if my child had been with me in the car, I don't know how severe it would have been. So I'm very fortunate. And I have to tell myself, because when you survive something like this, you tend to kind of like play it down, because it's like, well, it could have been much worse. It could have been more serious. No, I'm going to stop right there. It was serious and it was bad. And I have to acknowledge that, because who I am as a person has like been forever changed from that moment. And I don't know how to explain that very well, but I'll try my best. The point is, when I got hit, I felt like something left me. Like something, it vanished in that moment. And I don't know, now I think, how many years later, it's been about 3 years. It could have been my creativity. I haven't been able to write like books since then. I haven't been able to really get into the motivation to do art. The art I just showed you is me trying my best to get back into it, like to do something, forcing myself, because I miss that. I miss having that creative spirit, because it does something to me. It really does heal in a way that nothing else can. But I haven't been able to write since that happened. Nothing new. I even like pulling up my old stuff, and I had so many ideas, so many things that I am genuinely excited about, genuinely want to share, But like the actual act of sitting down and trying to like put words to paper and organize them in a way that makes sense anymore just doesn't, I can't do it. Like it's like something stops me. And that changed at that moment. I also had an existential crisis, and I don't know if that's because I had just been dealing with like a lot of grief from having two people close to me pass away in a very short time frame, and then being that close to death myself. I felt very much like, why? Why are we even here? Why are we even bothering? Like, what's the big deal? The only motivation for a very long time after that car accident for me to literally just do the basics was the fact that I have a child and that is dependent on me. So being a mother kept me living the life, getting through each day. And sure, part of that is PTSD. Like it's a depression symptom, a symptom of post-trauma. Totally normal for you to go through that. And I do feel like now that we're almost 3 years out from that accident, I do feel like I'm starting to emerge from that fog, emerge from that darkness. And I'm starting to feel a little bit more alive. But at the same time, the world is on fire. So it's like, yay, I'm blossoming, I'm coming out of my cocoon. What on earth is what? I woke up in the apocalypse. Like, that's what I feel like, right? Like, this is crazy. What is going on in America? But yeah, so we're here, and that's why I'm back to doing videos, is because I want to just kind of stir up that creativity again and bring myself out of that cage and out of that darkness, out of that fog. I no longer feel like I have to have a purpose in life, and that was very freeing. I actually very much like the concept of jellyfish and ants and all these other little creatures that just exist for the purpose of existing, and that's enough. I've lived my whole life feeling like I have to do something or be something, and I lived my whole life for other people and what their expectations were for me. So I have been working really hard to get myself centered and live for myself. Sure, I live for my kid. That's different, right? That's my responsibility as a parent, is to be here for my child and do the best for them. I am a better person since my divorce. That was the best decision I ever made. I am finally growing out of the fog of the post-trauma of death in a car accident, and I am embracing a new life and myself. I am now more myself than I've ever been. And it is a wonderful experience. And I hope to share that experience with all of you. So if you've watched up to this point, thank you for joining me and hearing my story. I do consider maybe posting some of my work, even though it's not finished, publishing some of my writings, either on my website or on Tapas, or sharing it here in video form. I feel like that might be a fun way, just casually talking to you about it, just like when we have our BJDs and a cup of tea. Maybe we can do some of that where I just talk about their story instead of worrying about writing it down and having it be perfect. I feel like there's a lot of pressure when you write for it to be like something, like to be so whatever, when really you just want to know the story. You want to know the characters. You want to hear it and enjoy it. So if that's something you're interested in, do comment in the comments. Share the story with us on videos. Like BJD and a cup of tea story time. Like we can do bedtime stories in a BJD and a bedtime story. And I can tell you the stories I have. Like I can tell you the myths from their life. Like there's a creation myth that involves my dolls. Like how cool is that? So that's all I have for you for this I'm Back personal update video. Thank you so much for watching. I will have some box opening videos coming your way. I'm gonna have some is it doll-sized videos for props and things, and maybe do some like photo editing. Like what I love about the doll hobby is the photos that I do. Doll photos is my favorite part. So maybe I can talk to you about how, like, the process I do when I set up a photo, and then the post-processing I do, like what I do in Photoshop or whatever to kind of edit the photos to bring it and make it the way that I like. And maybe you can learn something as well. So that's all I have for you today. Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be back on YouTube and doing videos for you again. And I hope we can keep in touch and stay close and bring more joy, doll joy, your way. So ball jointed doll joy. Have fun and take care of yourselves out there. And I appreciate all of you. Thank you so much for sticking with me all this time. Have a wonderful, wonderful day and evening or wherever you are. Take care. Bye.